In a world increasingly shaped by technology, the HumanUp Imperative explores the significance of human connection with each other, with the communities we serve, and perhaps most importantly, with ourselves. Join Rex Wallace and his guests as they discuss the ever-important role of authentic, meaningful connection in healthcare. It's time to Human Up.
Hey, what's up, Human Uppers? Welcome back to episode 3 of the HumanUp Imperative. I'm your host, Rex. And, as we've talked about, this podcast is focused on the importance of human connection with others, with our communities, and with ourselves. Today, we're actually going to get into that third one, connecting with ourselves, and then talking about the benefits that has in helping us connect with others, too. Specifically, we're going to talk about fitness and nutrition. And we have a guest today who is an undisputed expert in physical fitness and nutrition. He's a triathlete, more specifically an Ironman. I've known this guy for a very long time, and I've watched him in his 50s today completely transform his body composition and voluntarily sign up for Ironman races. So I thought he lost a bet or something, but he says he voluntarily did it. So we're going to dig into that. Also, along the way, he founded a nutrition company to help people like us who are trying to get more healthy. So here we go, episode 3. Let's human up with Sean Lancaster. Sean, thanks so much for joining us. I'm thrilled to have you today.
Same, Rex. This is it's a real honor to be on with you, and I got to say congratulations. I love the concept and the premise of your new podcast, and I'm excited for this conversation.
Me too. I know you really well, but probably no one else does who's listening to this, at least in my business circle, right? So maybe talk about who is Sean Lancaster. Tell us a little bit about your story. So people know who you are.
I consider to be an executive athlete. I love training. I love crushing tacos and hanging out with my wife. That's the short version. The expanded version, I'm a mechanical engineer by training. And after college, I worked a little bit in manufacturing, but then I got into healthcare and actually worked in healthcare for over 20 years, starting as a design engineer for a consulting firm. And what I discovered in that work was that I really liked working on healthcare projects, but I felt like there were some gaps that I had because I hadn't actually worked in a healthcare system. So I went to work for a healthcare system in facilities management, worked my way up to leading their facility management group. And then I decided to leverage that into start my own company and contracting back, mostly in hospital renovation. I love the challenge and the reward of taking especially older hospitals and leveling up their facilities. And so that really is where I was 4 years ago. Professionally, and I was just tired of it. Mainly the travel. I liked the work, but I didn't like the travel. There were a lot of situations where I'd find myself out of town for weeks at a time. One time I did a 30-day stint in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a great town, but I guess
a long time.
That is a long time to be away from home. So I had a little bit of a midlife crisis, if you want to call it that, and I decided to leave what was a pretty successful gig and try to integrate what had become my passion, which is endurance and fitness, marry that up with my professional life, and that's how the idea for my current company, Lancaster Advanced Nutrition, was born. So that's pretty much it. I'm just a guy that likes to work out and really likes to try to share it with as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm. So, I would love to kind of break the conversation down into two parts. And first off, really get into the personal benefits of doing this, taking care of yourself. Obviously everyone is told and knows inherently, hey, you need you need more sleep, you need more exercise, and you need a better diet. But everyone, it's not easy to always do that, right? Especially like you said, when you're traveling, if you're 30 days on the road, nutrition becomes very, very tough. So does exercise. The hotel gyms aren't that great sometimes, if they even are there. So I guess I'll just maybe ask you, can you talk a little bit about, like, why do you do it? What do you get out of and it's pretty intense exercise on your part, right? I consider myself a gym rat. I'm in the gym doing weight training every day and some cardio,
Yeah.
trying to watch
Yeah.
what I eat, but I'm not I'm not
Well, first, let me
I'm not
say, I
running a
think,
marathon at the end of a swim in a bike race either.
yeah, but let me say this. I think you're crushing it. I follow you, and you're on a journey of your own that's impressive. But something interesting that you said about travel, just to circle back to that, and then I'll jump into trying to answer, your question. But I actually pick hotels based on the gym. A lot of people pick hotels based on the bar. I pick it based on the gym. So, but it is a challenge when you are traveling. But to your question of what are the personal benefits, I think to answer that, it's probably would be good to maybe take a little bit of a 30,000-foot approach first
Sure.
and actually look at kind of a philosophical, I guess, symptom of our current culture, and that is that we have become so siloed and so compartmentalized in how we approach our lives. Um, for example, in healthcare, we are, I say we, and I mean that as the universal we. I'm no longer in healthcare directly, but
Mhm.
one thing that I did see when I was in healthcare is that we were really good at the specialty kind of care and the interventional stuff. But to be frank, I felt like, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, that from a preventive standpoint, we've got a lot that we could be better at. And I think philosophically that goes back to uh, really, uh, I'm going to geek out a little bit, so just hang with me. But so with kind of the Age of Enlightenment in those 17 and 1800s, when scientists a lot smarter than me were starting to figure out the human body and they were making great strides, it became almost an obsession to do deep dives into these different systems and different treatments, understanding those. And I think our whole medical education, our whole healthcare system is kind of uh, progressed into these, I'll call them silos. That may not be fair, but and so I think we as people, when we think about our health and fitness, we tend to do that. We tend to think that our mental well-being and our physical well-being are two different things, and that you can actually excel in one without the other. And I tend to kind of, I go back really to the great Greek physicians like Galen and Hippocrates, where they were really focused on holistic medicine. You see that in Eastern cultures as well. So, first things first, I think I would say is the personal benefits are really an integrated benefit across mind, body, spirit.
And I think so I'll just kind of
And I,
share.
and I, I paused for effect there because I thought I said something, really good. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah, well, the mind, body, spirit, the and I know I've talked about this before, and how I know a few years ago. So you and I were, similar backgrounds as far as, high school athletes and
Yes.
right. And then sort of dabble in sports along the way after that. But, I wasn't incredibly active when I started having kids or not active from from a fitness standpoint. And then in several years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, I guess, I was having a tough time personally, and I was having a hard time emotionally dealing with all the stuff that life was kind of throwing at me. And I remember talking to you kind of even back then, and I started working out physically with the thought that, because I've never been like buff or bulky or anything. I've always been pretty much on the thin side, right?
You were super lean when I knew you in high school. Yeah, yeah,
Always
you
lean. I
yeah.
never had any mass at all, right? So I started thinking, if I'm physically stronger, will I be emotionally stronger? So I started working out, and this was 8 or 9 years ago, um, purely for the benefit or purely for the rationale of trying to get through a hard stage in life emotionally. Um, and it proved to be true. It proved to help a lot, right? As I began to lift weights, and even started running, but mainly lifting weights, I would say, it did so many things for me, to help me emotionally, right? And then it sort of kickstarted me into doing a lot more. So then I got into, I started meditating. Actually went to yoga right before COVID hit, before my yoga studio closed, and tons of self-help books and podcasts and audiobooks and everything else. But it was all kickstarted by moving, by starting to do something physically. And I remember you and I, even back then, one of us challenged, probably you challenged me to a push-up
Oh
competition, right?
yeah,
Hey,
the push-up challenge.
let's
Yeah,
start
yeah.
doing, 100 push-ups a day or something like that. And then on the last day of the month, do as many as you can. And,
Mhm.
we'll see who can do the most at the end of the month. Um, but things like that, right? So that was even a little community aspect, or a
Mhm.
friend to friend kind of,
I got to tell you, if I can jump in,
yeah.
that push-up challenge was so good for me personally because coincidentally, that was while I was in Madison. I was out of town for 30 straight days, and we did the push-up challenge, and it was during COVID, and I was looking for community, I was looking for connection, and man, that lifted my spirits every morning, knowing that you were grinding, trying to kick my ass, you know. And so I was hammering, trying to kick your ass, and it really helped me, and I love to hear what you're saying about it because uh, that was. But you know, I also want to interject since you
Yep.
brought up, you know, who we used to be. I was a decent athlete in high school. I was two-sport athlete,
Mhm.
baseball and basketball. You were a multi-sport athlete, two-sport, primarily basketball and track. And I just, for everyone listening that knows you, because I know, you know, people that listen to your podcast, they know you and really think a lot of you. Rex was a stud track guy. He was a stud track athlete. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, and I've gotten off track of where
What were
where
we
we were
talking about?
headed. What were we talking about? But um, when you're talking about that how the physical basically serves as a catalyst to these other
Right.
parts of your well-being, like your emotional well-being and your mental state and so forth. Um, a lot of people have spent quite a bit of time, and there are studies trying to quantify. Most of them are more anecdotal and qualitative, but there is no denying that what you experienced is the norm for people that take on. And I love that you said just get moving.
I don't know that it always has to be, physical first, right? I'm sure it doesn't, but it's undeniable that it can be, and that can kickstart everything. So I would just say, for all those people out there who are struggling right now with with life, and you feel like it's kicking your butt. I mean, and you're not exercising, and you're not sleeping, and you're maybe not eating well, just doing something physically it really can transform everything. I mean, I think, both of us are evidence of that, and a lot of people are too.
100%. And I would push back a little bit and say that I think it is fitness that drives it because I'm trying to sell supplements.
Right. It must be.
That's got to be it. So you need to get moving. You need to get on a workout
You
regimen,
need
and
some
then you need
pre-workout powder. You need
then you
some
need to
post-workout
buy.
shake.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
no,
I actually you just, yeah. And by the way, we do not have paid sponsors, right? So Land Subs is Sean's company name, as you can see on his t-shirt. It's Lancaster Advanced Nutrition. I do buy the products. I do swear by them because they have helped me a lot the last couple of years, especially. So yeah, if you're looking for a supplement,
hey,
definitely give it a try.
I appreciate the plug.
No
I
payment
kind of
necessary.
teed that up, but yeah. So,
Yeah.
but you to kind of circle back to something a little bit more serious. You hit on something that I did want to unpack. You talked about how during that hard time for you, you were you started kind of by getting in the gym, and it led you into some meditation. And one of the fascinating things, and one of the reasons that I do endurance, which for endurance for me is like, triathlon, the
Mm-hmm.
running, longer distances, etc. Running especially plays into the point I'm trying to make. Running for me is meditation. And I think there is just something about when you get into the flow of a run that the little bit of suffering that you do to get there, it strips away the noise. It strips away the distractions, and you can really get into some deep. Well, I'll tell you what the right word is: mindfulness. You can
Mm-hmm.
really get into some deep mindfulness that otherwise, I mean, I'm a religious guy. I have, a spiritual connection with my God and all that. And no offense to my God, but I don't think I've found that close of a connection anywhere but in those times of when I've gone through suffering physically,
Mm-hmm.
and then the clarity comes. So I don't know. Damn, that was deep.
Yeah, but 100%.
Mm.
You know, um, that was the time when, whether it was meditation or yoga or just seriously so many self-help books, but I wasn't able to focus on them before I started physically moving, right? Um, and it's kind of like, it's not the same analogy, but I love the analogy about, you can't steer a car that's not moving, right? Like like
Mhm.
you have to just start moving the car, start moving your body, and then it becomes clear where to go, right? And then it becomes easy to turn certain directions and to avoid things. And but you can't do that if you're just sitting in the car and it's not moving. So
Well,
um
and to add on, yes, and on to that
mhm.
analogy, a lot of people get hung up on being concerned about once they get moving where they're going. And you have to turn loose a little bit and realize that, maybe sometimes you're going to take a wrong turn, but that doesn't mean that you can't, you know, turn around and get back on track. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so I guess if I had to summarize, or if I had to try to, kind of distill down, like if I were talking to someone who is considering, you know, taking, getting started on a fitness journey of their own, what I would say from the personal aspect, there are really two major benefits. And I think they come from two different types of exercise. One is, and I've already talked about it, it's endurance. And I think endurance is good for the soul. I think endurance is good for your mental clarity, for it's obviously also good for your heart. And from I mean, I don't think many people would argue against the benefits, health benefits of aerobic exercise. That's one thing. But what I discovered after this was probably 5, 6 years into my trying to be a triathlete, there is another component and that brings a huge amount of benefit as well, and that is moving around heavy shit.
Hmm.
And the thing is, when you get in the gym and you start connecting with that primal part of you, and and the thing is, it's you versus you. A lot of people get wrapped up in, oh, I got to be able to bench, 4 plates, or I got to be able to do this, that, or the other. It doesn't matter. But when you start moving heavy stuff around, it really starts to build your confidence. And so I lift for confidence and self-esteem,
Yeah.
and I run for my sanity.
Yeah. Yeah. My so kick started all this for me kind of with you, and whenever that was, right? um 2019 or something like that, maybe 2020, maybe it was during COVID
I
or
think
right
it's
around
2020. Yeah,
there,
maybe.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So then in later 2020 I met um Blanca, who's my partner, my life partner, fiance right now. And so we, I didn't go to a gym before. I never liked going to the gym, or I say that I had a bad perception of going to a gym. I thought gym is a meat market. It's
Hmm.
fueled by vanity, right? It's just these people going to look in a mirror.
Some of them are.
Some of it, but not nearly as much as I thought.
Right.
And she is a gym fanatic, so she got me to start going to her gym when we met, and we go every day now, right? And I've become so addicted to it, but it completely transformed how I see gyms. And I say this for anyone who maybe shares that perception, and maybe they haven't been in a gym in 25 or 30 years. A gym can be a very, very good place to go. You don't have to have a gym. And I see, Sean, I know you have your own, I
Well,
think the land cave, right? You call it.
that is, yeah. I'm in the land cave, which is my home gym and my office. But
Yeah.
what I will just say, when we were in Phoenix for a year,
Hmm.
and we belonged to a great gym there, Lifetime Fitness in
Hmm.
Biltmore, and but it was a meat market. There was no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And but the
Yeah.
thing is, and I know that can be intimidating because especially for people who haven't been in the gym, but what I would say is nobody cares.
Yeah.
Don't let that stop you.
Exactly.
You do you, you know. Find a workout that you connect with and
Yeah.
just go do it. But I do have to say one thing about the gym in Biltmore and Lifetime in Biltmore. Great gym, highly recommend. It's a little on the expensive side, but it is fantastic. But there are a lot of Instagram influencers in there, and
Oh yeah.
you really have to focus on your workout. I had one situation, and my wife Rebecca and I we work out together a lot, and we happened to be at
Yeah.
the gym at the same time for this instance, and she was standing beside me, and this one lady was doing the only way I can accurately describe it is pornographic misuse of the cable machine. That's what it was. So you, you need to put some blinders on and focus on you. But yeah, that's an interesting point that you make, though. I think a lot of people are intimidated. And by intimidated, I mean,
Or just turned off. Yeah. Right.
yeah, maybe intimidated is too strong a word, but they're just turned off by that, what they perceive as that culture. But
Right.
even in that, uh, glossy of a gym that we were going to, 80, 90% of the people in there were really just regular people getting their workout done.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I was going to go for us, it is a priority every day, right? It is rare when we miss the gym. I mean, I go first thing in the morning almost every day. So today, as an example, right, we have this thing called Stars Council where we have, all of our health plan clients join this big meeting for an hour and a half once a month. It's a huge meeting, 50, 60 health plans. And it's a really important meeting for us. And, we have a big team now. We have 12 people on our team. So it's, we can kind of divide and conquer as far as who's going to present what. And it's not too overwhelming. And thankfully for me, I don't hardly ever have to present anymore because we have such a big team now. But today I did. Today I had, a piece of the presentation and and a pretty important piece around organizational culture and talking about that. I've been traveling for 2.5 weeks. I just got home Tuesday, and today's Thursday, right when I had this meeting, and I didn't really get to work on the slides until last night. So I finished the slides last night, but I hadn't rehearsed them. It was 10 slides, and again, all of our clients are on there, all of our health plan customers, so it's a big deal. I could have easily said, I'm going to skip the gym because I got to rehearse. I just got to focus because this meeting is in the morning too. But what did I do? I've been traveling for 2.5 weeks and have not been in the gym, and I needed to be in the gym because I can feel my energy level low. I can feel my muscle mass shrinking and everything. So I spent the first 20 minutes at the gym just kind of walking kind of fast on the treadmill,
Hmm.
rehearsing my slides the whole time, right? Just on my phone, slide after slide, coming up, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Um, I could have easily said, I'm going to do this at home and just skip the gym. But I just say that because I think it's really important to not let things, it's really easy to let things get in the way, to let things,
Hmm.
to let life jump in and say, hey, you're too busy today. Maybe you didn't sleep well last night, right? Maybe, the dogs woke you up or you're stressed out, but you just kind of got to have the discipline, right? The self-discipline to say, screw it. I'm going to go and I'm going to make it work. And if I have to work, I work at the gym all the time. Every morning I'm
Hmm.
doing a little bit of work, whether it's at least catching up on texts or emails while I'm on the treadmill or in between sets and the weights. Like, you can do both, right? You can go to the gym, you can take care of yourself physically and prepare yourself to have a better day mentally and energy wise and get that and get work done at the same time, right? So I just, for anyone who hasn't experienced that, you can totally do that. You just got to prioritize the right things, right?
Yeah, 100%. And in fact, some of my best ideas, I think, come to me when I'm either on a run or in the gym.
Absolutely.
So much
Yeah.
so that I have a dry erase board right over there that I sometimes I'll stop in the middle of a workout and I'll go jot down an idea. And you know, there really is something physiological that happens when you're moving, when you're challenging your body. There is some sort of, I know there neurologically, you can talk about endorphin release, those sorts of things, dopamine. You've got a lot of feel good stuff going on, but I think it's even deeper than that. And there's actually some exciting research that is being taken on at Stanford Medical School right now by a guy. I'm gonna try not to blank on his name, but Dr. Ewan Ashley, I think, is the doctor that's heading that up. He's a longtime athlete, primarily a runner, I think,
Hmm.
but he has put together something called the Motor Pack Consortium. Consortium. Anyway,
Hmm.
he's put together this group of I think it's 30, 40 researchers and experts, medical experts across the country, and they are studying at the molecular cellular level the actual impact of exercise, not just on muscular and skeletal muscle tissue. That's been done somewhat, but they are
Hmm.
studying every organ in the body, including the brain, the liver, and so far, I think all that they've been able to actually complete are rodent studies, but the preliminary results in those rodent studies are that exercise, and this is versus a control group, this is like legit
Hmm.
science. They are finding that exercise fundamentally transforms these rodents at a cellular level. So, I mean, I'm not educated enough, probably not smart enough to know exactly what the mechanisms are that they're looking for,
Hmm.
but seriously, it is transformative. And so back to kind of your decision, you made a decision this morning that you were going to prioritize your workout. And it paid benefits in the other parts of your life. And, that's, it comes down to making fitness, making moving, making your health a priority and making it one of the highest, if not the highest.
I think it's people think more about the personal benefits, right? So, if in like my experience today, I prioritized it. I went. So even like um, from my whatever like lifestyle in my head, right? Like I'm affirm I'm doing the thing that I think I need to do, right? So that gives me some inner peace right there, knowing, hey, I did it. I went to the gym. I didn't let life get in the way. But I didn't go to the gym so I can look good and be vain, right? And like I went to the gym because I know that's because like what you said earlier, body, mind, spirit, like if I take care of my body, it does do amazing things to my mind, right? And my emotions and my um ability to engage with people throughout the day. And that's the part where I don't think a lot about, but it is undeniably a benefit, right? So we I think there's more talk about the personal benefits, but I want to talk a little bit now about the interpersonal benefits, because part of this, the whole concept of our podcast, right, the Human Up Imperative, it is taking care of ourselves, but it's also how do we connect better with other people. And I really believe strongly that me going to the gym every morning, and whether it's lifting weights or doing cardio or doing something to help my body, it helps me have. And I actually have some notes I kind of want to let you react to here, right? So because I did a lot of or did some research on this, how so exercise, right? And this is the interpersonal benefit. So exercise helps you stay calm and composed in
Hmm.
conversations, even under pressure, because it releases endorphins and reduces cortisol. Exercise improves your posture, your energy, and your self-image, which are great. You could argue those are just vanity things, all of which influence how others perceive you, right? So again, it's not just how you are perceiving yourself, but it's how you're influencing how others see you and perceive you. Exercise increases activity in the brain regions related to empathy and social cognition. And I feel this every day. Like I know when I exercise, I do have more patience with other people. I'm less reactive. And then from a nutrition standpoint, nutrition supports improved focus, memory, and decision making. So, I mean, when I think about people that I interact with every day from a business standpoint, I mean, decision making is one of the most important things they do throughout the day. And they're in back to back meetings all day long. They never get a break, the vast majority of them. So, if they are not taking time at some point to prioritize physical exercise and focusing on their nutrition, they're screwed. They're literally sitting in a chair. They might be at a stand-up desk, but they're still back to back for 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day. No break to
You,
like have any
yeah,
solitude or anything.
you get caught in a downward spiral is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you turn to other things to cope and to fuel as best you can. You're describing my 30s. That was exactly where I was in my 30s. I was a
Yeah.
metabolic mess.
Yeah.
And but I was grinding. You talked earlier about how you got into your 30s, you got a family, you're building a
Hmm.
career. Um, I call it the grind of life. You get into that, and the next thing you know, for me, I was 39 years old, and I had a heart attack, and it was a mild heart attack, and
Hmm.
obviously I'm still here, thankfully. But it was a big wake up for me personally. I call it my man in the mirror moment. I collapsed at home, and somehow Rebecca helped me to my feet, and I I didn't even go to the doctor immediately. That's bad advice. Seriously, if you have a cardiac event, go to the damn doctor.
Well, Stefan, let's put up some legal disclaimers on this part of the show.
Exactly. Sorry, Stefan. Um, so the yeah. So, but what happened was I was getting ready to go to work, and the glass was shattered, and I saw myself for who I had really become,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm looking at a guy that's 39. He looks like he's going on 60, and is totally unhealthy. And I'm not just talking about weight. I was considerably heavier, but I just had that look,
Yeah.
you
Sure.
know, and it scared the hell out of me. And I immediately made changes in my life. Not all of them were the right changes, but I did something. And unfortunately, I'm stubborn enough, and I guess I was thick-headed enough at that point that I'd let myself get there. And it took, possibly almost dying to make me realize that I needed to make a dramatic change. And so that's when I signed up for my first triathlon.
So if you have a mild cardiac event, sign up
Sign
for a
up.
triathlon. That's the prescription,
That's
right?
the takeaway. There's the money clip off of this podcast.
There's our title.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yep,
Yeah, well, that's quite the go big or go home, right? I mean, Jesus,
exactly.
you're about dying. I
It's
mean, pivot, swing that pendulum the whole, other direction, right? As far as it'll go. But hey, I mean, you're driven enough and maybe a little crazy enough, right? It worked. You needed, and I think that self-awareness is so important, right? To know, like, maybe you wouldn't have responded to small changes, right? You needed to say, hey, it's all or nothing. I've been living
yeah.
this unhealthy lifestyle. So
For me,
now,
for me it was, but
yeah.
it's in that to kind of um, I guess respond a little bit or react a little bit to where you are going with this though is really let me ask a question just really
Mhm.
quick, or ask you to validate if I'm understanding kind of the mission of your podcast. I think what from watching the first episode and from talking with you, I think your mission seems to be something along the lines of, hey, let's try to make help people become better humans and better leaders. Is that, I mean, sort of in
Yeah,
a nutshell, where
through connection with other humans and themselves, right? Like, so there's so much focus, at least in our industry, on artificial intelligence and leveraging it and firing people because we're going to leverage AI now, but and using AI to actually engage with our health plan members. And there's just a lot of concern with, a lot of people, including me, that we are losing this human connection, and we're never going to succeed really if we're not, self-aware and connecting with ourselves and connecting with the people around us and connecting with our communities. So it's essentially what you said, but I would add that to it. Yeah.
that connection piece. And that's, I'm sorry I left that off. I couldn't agree
Yeah,
more. I couldn't agree more. So what I would say is um, to maybe pivot this conversation into the interpersonal benefits that you had kind of laid out on in the onset. Um, I'm a big believer in looking at what people who are better than me, looking at what they do, or if if they've achieved something that I would aspire to. I'm not much on, even in sports, I'm not much on breaking things down technically and saying, like, if you're shooting a basketball, oh, you got to be exactly here and here. I'm more of a watch and do kind of person. And I actually stumbled across, I was thinking about our conversation, and I was reminded of something that I'd seen. It might have been a TED talk, or it may have been something along those lines. But I saw a guy named Scott Galloway talking about Fortune 500 CEOs. Scott Galloway is you're probably familiar with him. He's a marketing. Yeah, he's a marketing professor at NYU.
Right.
And I think he's written some books, and I can't say that I've read them.
The Algebra of Happiness, and
yeah, there you go. So, but for some reason, when I was trying to get my thoughts together on my run before this, it came to me, and something he said, 485 out of, I looked this up. This wasn't from memory. I looked it up.
Yeah.
485 out of 500 CEOs work out 5 times or more a week. That's 97%.
Wow.
And that's at I would consider Fortune 500 CEOs, not that a smaller company CEO couldn't be, even more talented and would be someone that you should emulate or whatever. But I'm just saying, these are some elite people.
Sure.
And so I think when you're looking at just kind of the qualities, like, if, let's say, someone watching this podcast is thinking, okay, how can I be a better leader? Well, I think part of that answer has to do with being a more fit and better version of yourself. I don't know all the whys, but I can tell you that's what they're doing.
I couldn't agree more. I think, earlier in my career, when I was too busy, like we talked about, with family and in a rising career, like, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard to prioritize that, right? Because you have so many things pulling at you. And I get even people, many people our age too. I mean, it's not easy, and I'm not here to judge anyone for the life that they've been handed, or right, and the strains on them. I mean, I get it. I know that we all have different things pulling at us, and different abilities in our schedule to make things happen. But anything you can do from a fitness and nutrition standpoint, it is going to have positive benefits, right? I mean, I've experienced it, and I'm not where I need to be. I mean,
Neither am I.
Pretty good at the gym, but my diet, and in full transparency, I have a wellness visit every year, and my cholesterol is always kind of off the chart. And for the last 15 years, I've told, my PCPs that I don't want a statin. I really don't want to take medication, right? I'm exercising. I don't have any other risk factors. I'm not really obese. I don't smoke. I don't drink much. Like, I sleep okay. I don't want to take a statin.
I'm not a medical professional, so, disclaimer, but statins have some downsides. So I'm not sure you're doing the wrong thing on that. I mean, I don't know your whole
Yeah.
medical, but and
Well, I
this
finally
is,
started taking one. That's what I was going to say. So
oh, okay.
it like,
All
like,
right.
like
Well,
2 weeks ago. So
okay. Well, maybe I'll skip past
because
what I
my,
was about to say, but yeah, yeah,
because my LDL was like more than twice what it needs to be, right? Like it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
genetic, right? Like I know that
yeah.
I cannot control it with my diet or exercise. So
Gotcha.
and my PCP had me concerned enough with my arteries that he convinced me that let's try it for 3 months, see how it goes, right? And then we'll test you again.
Yeah.
So um
Well,
anyway,
and that's actually, our back and forth on that, and maybe we need to take that offline, but the thing is, another thing that would be valuable, I think, for people to know and to think on is you kind of have to have an n equals one mindset. You know, all of
right.
us all of us are unique. We have different backgrounds, we have different genetics.
Hmm.
What works for one person, parts of it may work for another,
Hmm.
but it's dangerous to make blanket statements and extreme, to push people towards extremes, um, because we're all individuals.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And you know,
But back on the leadership thing, and on connectivity, I think, when you start. Okay, first of all, earlier you said something about vanity, and you
yeah.
can't talk about getting fit without talking about vanity,
Yeah.
because the number one reason people want to get fit is because they want to look good naked. And if they tell you that's not it, they're lying. I'm just,
Right.
it's a fact. It's how we're hardwired. But the other part of that is that when you start on that journey, and it you get more comfortable in your own skin, and when you're more comfortable in your own skin, people around you are more comfortable, and you can
Yeah.
have deeper conversations, and you're not as you know I think you can. So to be a leader, a lot of times I think, you kind of got to fit the suit. And what I mean by that is not literally you got to be, 6'2" and
Hmm.
jacked or whatever. Although you can't deny that that probably helps. But
Right.
it's really more about being comfortable in your own skin, and
Yeah.
and people, they gravitate towards that, and that's really this thing that we're trying to, as leaders, we're trying to develop that gravitas, and that
Hmm.
riz, like the people say, the kids say now. um, you can't discount, or I can't, the part that taking care of yourself and prioritizing yourself plays in that.
Yeah, and confidence is important, right? And you watched episode 1, I think, right? That
Hmm.
we had with Todd Ray, and we talked a lot about the difference between confidence and arrogance, and
Hmm.
how there's a line there, and you just going to the gym and working out doesn't have to make you arrogant, right? But increasing your confidence level is almost always a good thing, I think, especially if you're coming from a place where you're not as confident. You don't like who you are. Or you don't feel comfortable. Yeah, I mean, as a guy with your shirt off or whatever, right? Like when you start feeling more confident, you know, physique wise, it does a lot for your ability to collaborate with people and interact with people, and because confidence is needed to to I don't know if it increases your ability to do a lot of the things you need to do when you're engaging with teams and engaging with people. The better you feel about yourself, like you said, the more comfortable you are in your own skin, right?
Well, there's a lot to be said about how confidence allows people to um, be positive in their
Yeah.
interactions. And maybe positive is even the best word. So it's like if you are looking at the effectiveness of a leader, a pessimistic leader is a curse on an organization.
Right.
And 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 one of the best ways I think to be able to maintain an optimistic outlook in hard times or challenging environment is to have that inner confidence, to have that and feeling good, looking good. It's a big part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get to some rapid fire questions for you, but to kind of tie a ribbon around this part, right? So it sounds like we're in agreement, and there's, I think, lots of proof and evidence that taking care of yourself physically, and nutrition wise, it doesn't just help you, it helps you, it helps your ability to communicate and collaborate and connect with other people because of the impact it has on your energy level, your patience, your confidence, even your confidence when you're communicating, your ability to communicate. I think there's so many aspects of it that are probably not, I just don't feel like they're thought of enough, right? From a rationale standpoint to
I think
help people prioritize exercise and
to,
nutrition.
totally. I think way too many people focus on the harder aspects, and by hard I mean the more technical, financial, mastering. Look, you need to know your stuff. There is no
Yeah.
doubt. But even the people that know their stuff, if they do not have the confidence to communicate that effectively, or they're not creating uh, the only word I can think of is the right aura.
Hmm.
If they're not putting the right energy into the room, it's not going to be heard. And
Right.
so you got to have them both. You've got to be an expert or you got to have the competency in whatever your industry or your business is, but you've got to have that presence to be able to interact with people, inspire people, and
Right.
and that's how you lead people.
Right. Yeah, what you put in your body and then how you push your body um, affects how you show up, right? And
Mhm.
how you show up in
I
meetings, how you
mean,
show up in dialogue and interactions, and yeah.
an easy way to think of that is think about when you're trying to work through getting over a virus or
Hmm.
something like that. You're not at your best, and so it's harder to bring the energy, to bring the focus, and all that. When you're metabolically unhealthy, like systemically, like I
Hmm.
was, you're in that state all the time.
Let's wrap with a few rapid fire questions here. I like asking these questions to all of our guests. So first, what's one book everyone should read?
I think what I would say that dovetails well into our conversation would be The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter.
I've heard of that. Yeah, maybe you told me about it. I've not read it yet.
Well, it's really so I credit that book with why I signed up for an Ironman, and it's he part of the book, without giving too much away, but part of the book he talks about the Japanese practice of misogi and a misogi challenge.
Hmm.
And I think when you're maybe trying to find that inner athlete again,
Yeah.
it's a powerful message.
Okay. I'll have to add that one. And maybe I've heard you, I think maybe in your blog, you might've mentioned it too.
Yeah, I
In,
probably
in
did.
some of your
Yeah.
posts on your website or something. Okay. What was your most helpful personal failure, if you have one?
I've got several. I would say most recently it was losing my first manufacturer when we were
Ah,
trying to go stand up our business. It was a really low point, and the reason I say that I learned a lot from it is because I did learn about how to choose a better manufacturer. Unfortunately, I found one, but more so, I learned whether or not I was going to quit. And I had to make, I remember it was New Year's Day, 2022 maybe, and, or 23. Actually, it's 23. It was New Year's Day, 2023. And I went to the beach and I sat and I stared at the ocean, deciding whether or not I was going to quit. Because I mean, that was devastating. I lost money, I lost
yeah.
time. I mean, it sucked. But what came out of it was I decided I'm not quitting. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
going.
I remember this. And I remember, so, Sean for the last few years has been, um, planning this nutrition company, and I remember he was in pictures of his when he was trying to come up with a different and unique,
Form,
pre-workout
yeah,
powder,
formulation.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. The whole formula, and um, different combinations for energy level and sustainability and endurance and all all of these different factors that based on kind of the product he wanted to create. So I just remember being so impressed with, and he's a mechanical engineer like you said earlier, right? So watching this engineer create like Frankenstein, right? Like actually create this
It was
product.
it was actually a little bit more like a meth lab.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
But
there were
you
some
didn't blow up any
times that I
apartments or
was,
anything.
yeah, if somebody had swatted me during some of that, I would have gone to jail because our kitchen looked like a meth lab. But yeah,
I love the product, seriously. So it all worked out in the end. What's a belief that you swear by?
just do it.
Just do it.
Nike nailed it. It's the best marketing slogan in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It fits what we've been talking about as far as just start moving, right? Just
exactly.
kickstart. A little physical activity can kickstart everything else in life, if you let it and commit to it, right, and have that discipline.
Start from where you are. That's all you
Yeah.
can do. When I signed up for my first triathlon, I couldn't run a half mile. The first trip I made to the pool, I swam one length in short. It was a short course pool, 25 yards, and I had to hang on to the side. Just start from where you are and just do it.
I'm glad you said that because it makes me think too when I first started. I was like you said, I was a track athlete in high school and college. But I was a sprinter. I was never a distance runner.
Hmm.
And then later in life, I wanted to run a 5K. I couldn't run a minute without stopping, right? And but there are apps, great apps,
Hmm.
couch to 5K, right? Like literally takes you from the couch to be able to run a 5K in just a few weeks. And it did me. I mean, the first few days on the treadmill, it's so easy. It's these little intervals, and the next thing you know, you're running 4 minutes and 8 minutes, and the next thing you know, you're running. Well, for me, it's like 30 minutes for a
Yeah,
5K,
yeah.
but whatever your time is,
Run the
yeah, start
5K.
where you're at.
So let me just interject. I think the 5K is the hardest race because it's like, do I run hard? Do I run
Right.
easy?
Yeah.
But a 5K is a great accomplishment, you know? I
Oh,
so I signed up for
it's
my
all I
first.
need to run. I feel like I've run a half marathon. I don't need to run another half marathon. I don't feel like.
Yep, yep.
Or my knees have convinced me that I don't need to.
Yep.
Were there events or successes or failures that made you lead like you lead today?
Well, that's tough. I partly because I don't lead people
Sure.
anymore, and one of the things that I think about a lot, and I thought about this on the back half of my Ironman on the marathon. I really wish I had been this version of me when I was leading people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I look
Yeah.
back and I don't spend a lot of time looking in the rearview mirror, but I think I would have handled some things a lot better and just been such a better leader. And you know, so I don't know if that answered that question, but
I think it's great.
yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, I can totally relate to that because um I have plenty of regrets, but my regrets are not like jobs I took or like decisions I made that affected me personally. They're they're regrets about how I made someone else feel in a certain moment, or
Mhm.
right, something I made that impacted someone else. And I do feel like if I'd been a better version of me, even the like, and I'm a much better version of me now than I was 25 years ago. Yeah, I totally agree with that. That I think it would have been better all around. Yeah. Okay, end with this. How would you finish the sentence? For me, one of the most important ways to human up is to.
Mm. Well, I think just make the decision to choose optimism, you know,
Yeah.
because really, whether it's as a friend or as a leader of an organization, a husband, a dad, I see it as my duty to be an optimistic person, and I say that as a recovering pessimist.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, I think probably that would be what I would say, just as a general statement. Specifically, if you think you might like to, I would say sign up for an Ironman, because I guarantee you, if you train for an Ironman, you're going to come out the backside of that a better human.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't doubt that. I fear that I would be having knee surgery, but
It's not
I
for
hear
everyone. It's
in
not
that,
for everyone.
in the community aspect too, right? And I think you've told me before about like the community of Ironman people. And I was going to say this earlier and I never did. I'm remembering, but the community aspect, I've worked for employers who had, because there are also these kind of proven, and I actually have a note here about how shared activities build connection and shared routines promote, belonging, and they provide these informal support systems. I'm sure Ironman does that, but also even when you're working at an employer, I worked at, Cambia in the Pacific Northwest, a health plan, and we had these great like fitness competitions in the summer,
Hmm.
right? And where we would join teams and then try to get 20,000 steps a day or something, and we
Hmm.
would, but it was all about being active, but also team based, and it was tremendous. And I miss that, and I actually want to implement that in our company. We've not done that yet, but there's an important community component to this as well, right? Um, okay.
Yes, don't underestimate the power of shared suffering.
Right, exactly, yeah.
The
Um,
good coaches have been relying on that for, since teams were formed.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Sean, thanks so much for joining us, for being our guest. So how can people follow you, find you in your company Landsubs if they wanted to learn more about you?
Oh, yeah. So the website's landsubs.com. And we have socials that are at Landsubs. So yeah.
Cool. All right.
And Rex, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Me too. Me too. So glad to have you on, and that was a great conversation. Um, and that's it for episode 3. So thanks everyone for human upping with us, and we'll talk next time. Thanks.